Hello everyone. This is Easy English for Better You. Thank you for being here today. Today we have a very special topic, a topic for people who want to speak English, but they feel tired, lazy, or maybe even hopeless sometimes. The title is, I am lazy, but I still want to be good at English. Does that sound like you? If yes, you are in the right place. Don't worry, I am not going to tell you to study 10 hours a day, or read grammar books, or memorize thousands of words. No, today I want to tell you something different, something that will change how you look at learning English forever. Let me tell you a story about a young man named Asher. Asher had a dream. He wanted to speak English so he could travel, meet new people, maybe even work in another country someday. He loved watching Hollywood movies. He loved hearing songs in English. Every time he saw someone speak English fluently, something inside him whispered, I wish I could do that too. But there was one problem. Asher was lazy. Not lazy because he didn't care. No, he cared a lot, but lazy because his life was already full of noise, full of pressure, full of tired days. He worked all day. By the time he came home, his mind was already exhausted. He wanted to study English, but every time he opened a book, the letters danced on the page. After 10 minutes, he would close it and say, tomorrow, I'll start tomorrow. But tomorrow never came. Weeks passed, then months. He downloaded apps. He bought a grammar book. He even joined an online course once, but nothing lasted. Every method felt heavy. Every time he failed, he felt worse. He thought, maybe I'm not smart enough. Maybe I'm not made for English. One night, Asher was sitting on his balcony. The city lights were blinking in the distance. He could hear children laughing somewhere far away. He looked up at the sky and said softly, why is it so hard for me? Why can't I do it? He closed his eyes and thought of all the times he had quit. He wasn't proud of himself. He felt small. He felt like a dreamer who didn't know how to wake up. But then something small happened. Something simple. He was scrolling through his phone, too tired to think, when he saw a short video, a funny clip from a show. It was in English. Without even realizing it, he turned on the subtitles and watched it again. This time, he caught a few words. Wait, he said to himself. I understood that. He smiled for the first time that night. It was just a few words, but it made him feel alive. That tiny moment planted a seed inside him. He thought, maybe I don't have to study like everyone else. Maybe I can learn in my own lazy way. The next day, he watched another short video. This time, a cooking video. He didn't understand every word, but he kept watching. Something inside him said, don't stop. Just keep touching English. Slowly, something started to change. He wasn't studying English anymore. He was using it. When he listened to a song, he read the lyrics. When he played a game on his phone, he switched the language to English. When he texted a friend, he tried one English sentence, just one. At first, it felt strange. But after a few days, it started to feel normal. He wasn't pushing himself. He was just living, but a little differently. Then, one evening, Asher met a tourist in his city. She was looking at a map, confused. Normally, he would have walked past her, but this time, something inside him said, try. He walked closer and said quietly, excuse me, can I help you? The woman smiled. Oh, thank you. Yes, I'm trying to find the old mosque near the river. Her accent was fast, but Asher caught the words find and river. He pointed down the street and said, go straight, then left near the bridge. She nodded, smiled again, and said, you speak English very well. For a second, Asher froze. No one had ever told him that before. It felt unreal. He walked away with a strange warmth in his chest. He didn't speak perfectly, but he spoke. He was understood. And for the first time, he didn't feel like a failure. He felt like someone becoming the person he always wanted to be. That night, he sat on his bed, thinking. He realized something powerful, something that changed his whole mindset. He realized he had learned more from those small, lazy moments than from all the hours he had tried to study before. He realized that laziness wasn't his enemy. It was his teacher. It was showing him a better, smarter way. He opened his notebook, a notebook that had been empty for months. On the first page, he wrote one line: "I will not fight my laziness. I will use it." And from that day, he started a new journey, not with heavy books, not with guilt, not with pressure, but with small actions that fit his lazy rhythm. He called it his 5-minute life. Just 5 minutes a day, every day. 5 minutes to touch English, maybe through a song, a short video, or one small chat. He promised himself one thing: I won't be perfect, but I'll be consistent. And that's when the real magic began. Because you see, Asher didn't need motivation anymore. He just needed 5 minutes. And those 5 minutes started to change everything. Now listen carefully, because in the next part, I will tell you exactly what Asher did, the 3 lazy English rules he used to grow without pressure, without fear, and without quitting again. If you've ever felt like Asher, tired, busy, or too lazy to study, you don't want to miss this. Because his method doesn't just help you learn English, it helps you change your whole relationship with learning. So stay with me, and in the next part, I'll show you the same rules that made Asher go from lazy and lost to confident and free. Because his method doesn't just help you learn English, it helps you change your whole relationship with learning. So, let's continue the story of Asher. A few days after he made that promise to himself, I'll use my laziness instead of fighting it, something inside him felt lighter. For the first time in years, he didn't wake up feeling guilty for not studying. He woke up with curiosity. He didn't ask, "What must I study today?" He asked, "What small thing can I do today that feels easy?" That one question changed everything. He created 3 simple rules for himself. He called them the Lazy English Rules. Rules that would allow him to learn without burning out. Rules that even the laziest person could follow. Rule number 1, the 5-minute rule. Asher said to himself, "I don't need to study for hours. I just need 5 minutes. 5 minutes to touch English every day." At first, it sounded silly. What could 5 minutes do? But soon, he realized how powerful it was. One morning, before going to work, he watched a short clip on YouTube, a man talking about dreams. It was just 2 minutes long. He understood, maybe 50%, but those 2 minutes stayed in his mind all day. He kept replaying them in his head while he was in the bus, while eating lunch, even while walking home. Another day, he listened to an English song for exactly 5 minutes. He didn't translate it, he just felt it. He caught words like hope, light, tomorrow. He whispered them to himself again and again, smiling like a kid who had found treasure. And the more he did it, the more it became a habit. 5 minutes wasn't scary. It was easy. It was small enough to start and short enough to finish. He stopped waiting for the perfect time. He stopped planning. He just did it. And something magical happened. Those small 5-minute moments started to grow. Sometimes 5 minutes became 10. Sometimes, when he was watching a movie, he forgot the time completely. He wasn't studying anymore. He was living with English. After a few weeks, Asher wrote in his notebook again, "Tiny steps make big roads." And that became his new belief. Then came rule number 2, the 1-sentence rule. This rule came from his frustration with vocabulary. Before, he tried to memorize long lists of words: apple, table, dream, journey, success. He always forgot them. The words felt dead, like cold stones in his memory. So he changed his way. Instead of words, he learned sentences, living words that carried meaning and emotion. He told himself, just one sentence each day, that's all. The first sentence he learned was, "Could you please say that again?" A simple, polite, powerful sentence. He practiced it every time he watched a video. When he didn't understand something, he paused and said it out loud. "Could you please say that again?" He smiled, pretending he was talking to the speaker. The next day, he learned another one. "What do you call this in English?" He used it in real life. At a cafe, he pointed at a pastry he didn't know the name of. He asked a tourist, "Excuse me, what do you call this in English?" The tourist replied, "Oh, that's a croissant." Asher repeated softly, "Croissant." And suddenly, that word was his, not from a book, from life. That's when he understood the secret. You don't need thousands of words to speak. You just need a few sentences you can actually use. One sentence each day. After 1 year, that's 365 sentences. 365 doors to conversation. 365 moments of confidence. He didn't need to study grammar to express himself. He just used his sentences, naturally, easily. Every night, before sleeping, he looked at his list. It was growing, and he smiled. He was proud, not because he knew a lot, but because he was consistent. Then came rule number 3, the smartphone rule. This was his favorite one. He realized he spent hours on his phone, scrolling, chatting, watching. So he decided to make his phone his English teacher. He changed the language of his phone to English. At first, it was chaos. He couldn't find settings. He didn't understand what compose or gallery meant. But slowly, every time he used his phone, he learned a new word. Not from memory, from use. He learned delete because he pressed it every day. He learned reply, search, download, and share. His phone was teaching him, quietly, constantly. He didn't even notice how much he was learning. Soon, English was everywhere on his home screen. In his notifications, in his music. He was surrounded by it without studying. It was like living in a tiny English world that fit inside his pocket. And the best part? He didn't feel like a student anymore. He felt like a user, someone who lived inside the language, not outside it. Weeks passed, and Asher started noticing changes. When he watched movies, he didn't need subtitles for every line. When he listened to English songs, he could feel the emotion, not just the rhythm. When he read something online, his eyes moved faster. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. Beautiful, natural progress. And one evening, something special happened. He was at a cafe, sitting near the window, when a little boy came to his table. The boy was lost, a foreign kid, looking for his parents. He spoke English. Everyone else around looked confused, but Asher stood up. He smiled and said softly, "Hey, don't worry. What's your name?" The boy sniffled and said, "Ethan." "Okay, Ethan," Asher said gently. "Where did you last see your mom?" Ethan pointed toward the crowd. Together, they found her. When the mother came running, tears in her eyes, she said, "Thank you. You helped him. You speak English so well." Asher smiled, a little shy. Inside, his heart felt full. He wanted to tell her, "I used to be lazy." He wanted to laugh and cry at the same time. Because at that moment, he realized something. His laziness had not stopped him. It had guided him. It had shown him the easiest path, the path that worked for him. He didn't study long hours. He didn't memorize pages. He just stayed consistent. 5 minutes a day. 1 sentence a day. and a phone in English. Asher looked out the cafe window that night. The sky was deep blue. The city lights looked softer than before. He whispered, "I'm still lazy, but now I'm smart lazy," and that made all the difference. But the story doesn't end here, because what truly made Asher successful wasn't just these 3 rules. It was one deeper truth, a secret hidden behind them all. And in the next part, I'll share that secret with you, the one idea that turns laziness into success and makes every small effort powerful. So stay with me, because that secret is what truly changed Asher's life forever. So stay with me, because that secret is what truly changed Asher's life forever. It happened one quiet night. Asher was sitting on his bed with the lights off, just his phone glowing softly in his hand. He wasn't watching a movie, he wasn't studying, he was just thinking. He remembered all the months he had spent fighting himself, calling himself lazy, useless, not good enough. And now, here he was, speaking English, understanding people, even helping strangers. He whispered to himself, "How did I do it? What really made the difference?" And then, it hit him. It wasn't just the rules. It wasn't luck. It wasn't magic. It was something smaller, something invisible. He smiled as he realized the truth. The real secret was consistency over intensity. Those words echoed in his heart like music. He repeated them softly, consistency over intensity. He thought about all the times he tried to study for hours and failed. He thought about the guilt that came when he stopped halfway. He thought about how 5 minutes a day, only 5 minutes, had taken him further than 5 years of failed starts. It was never about working harder. It was about showing up every single day, even when he didn't feel like it. He realized that learning English wasn't about force. It was about flow, like a river that keeps moving, slowly but endlessly. That's why his English was growing, because he was consistent, not perfect. He laughed quietly, almost in disbelief. He had spent so much time thinking laziness was his enemy, but now he saw it differently. Laziness had guided him to find an easier, smarter way, a way that worked for him, not against him. That night, he wrote something new on the last page of his notebook. He wrote, "Laziness is not my weakness, it's my teacher." He underlined it twice, then closed the book gently. That sentence would stay with him forever. From that day, English wasn't a subject anymore. It was a part of his life. He didn't plan lessons or schedules. He didn't say, "I will study today." He said, "I will live in English today." When he walked to work, he listened to podcasts. When he cooked dinner, he talked to himself in English. When he scrolled social media, he followed pages in English. And when he felt tired, he didn't quit. He just reduced his time from 5 minutes to 2, maybe even 1, because 1 minute was better than 0. That was his golden rule. And slowly, something deep inside him changed. He stopped saying, "I can't." He started saying, "I will." He stopped running from effort. He started running toward progress, one small step at a time. Months passed. One morning, he got a message from a friend who worked for an international company. They were looking for someone who could communicate in English, not perfectly, but confidently. His friend said, "Asher, you should try. You've improved a lot." At first, Asher laughed nervously. "Me? No way. My English is not that good yet." But his friend replied, "It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real." Those words stayed in his heart. So he tried. He recorded a short voice message in English, introducing himself. His voice trembled a little, but his words were clear. "Hello, my name is Asher. I'm from Pakistan. I used to think I was lazy, but I discovered that even lazy people can learn fast if they are consistent. I love helping others, and I want to keep growing. He pressed send, and for the first time in his life, he didn't feel afraid of making mistakes. He felt alive. 2 days later, he got a reply. The company wanted to interview him online, in English. His hands shook when he read the message, but instead of fear, he felt excitement. He had waited for a chance like this. On the day of the interview, Asher sat in front of his laptop. Wearing his favorite white shirt, he took a deep breath. The interviewer smiled on the screen and said, "Hi, Asher, how are you today?" Asher smiled back and said, "I'm good. A little nervous, but excited to talk." That one honest sentence set the tone. The conversation flowed naturally. He used his favorite lines. "Could you please repeat that? And what do you call this in English?" He didn't pretend to be perfect. He was real, human, confident. When the call ended, he leaned back in his chair, heart pounding. He didn't know if he would get the job, but it didn't matter, because he had done something that once felt impossible. He had spoken English naturally, calmly, beautifully. Later that night, he went out for a walk. The streetlights glowed like warm stars. He looked up at the sky and whispered, "I did it," not because of a job, but because of the person he had become. He was still lazy sometimes. He still skipped days, still got tired, but now he understood something powerful. It's not about perfection. It's about direction. He wasn't chasing speed anymore. He was chasing momentum, and momentum always wins. Weeks later, he got the email. "Congratulations, Asher. You've been selected." His heart raced. He smiled so wide it hurt his cheeks. He walked to his mother's room, holding the phone, and said, "Amy, I got the job." Her eyes filled with tears. She hugged him and whispered, "You see, my son, your laziness wasn't bad. You just needed to find your own way." Asher closed his eyes. Those words were like music, because they were true. Now, whenever someone tells him, "I'm too lazy to learn English," he smiles and says, "That's perfect, because I was lazy too. And that's why I found the fastest way to learn." He tells them his story, the 5-minute rule, the 1-sentence rule, the smartphone rule. He tells them that English isn't about studying hard. It's about living with it. It's about being patient with yourself, gentle with your energy, and consistent with your effort. And then he shares his secret, the same one that changed his life. Don't fight your laziness. Understand it. Let it guide you to easier, smarter methods. Because your laziness doesn't mean you're weak. It means your mind is searching for a better way. He looks into the camera, smiles softly, and says, "Trust me, you don't need to be fast. You just need to start. One small step every day." That's how lazy people win. He laughs lightly, adjusts his mic, and ends his video the same way every time. Thanks for watching. Keep learning, keep smiling, and remember, being lazy isn't bad if you use it wisely. Then he waves at the camera as soft music plays in the background. A calm, inspiring melody that feels like sunrise after a long night. And that's how Asher, the lazy dreamer, became Asher, the fluent speaker. Not by running fast, not by working hard, but by walking slowly every single day without stopping. Because sometimes the slowest learners become the fastest achievers, not through force, through flow, through faith, through consistency over intensity. And that is how Asher's laziness became his greatest strength. And that is how Asher's laziness became his greatest strength. But the story didn't end there. It was only the beginning. After that video went viral, people from all over the world started messaging him. Some were students, some were workers, some were just dreamers like he once was. They all said the same thing, "Asher, I thought I was too lazy to learn, but your story gave me hope." Asher would read those messages late at night, sitting at the same desk where he once felt like a failure. He smiled, sometimes even cried, thinking how strange life was. The same desk that once held his frustration now held his inspiration. The same phone that once distracted him now connected him with thousands of learners around the world. He realized something important. Every weakness can become a gift if you stop fighting it and start understanding it. So Asher decided to do something bold. He started his own channel, Learn on English. Not a fancy one, not filled with heavy lessons or grammar charts, but a place for people like him. The smart, lazy ones, the tired ones, the ones who always start but never finish. In his very first video, he sat in front of the camera, took a deep breath, and said softly, "Hi, everyone. My name is Asher. I was called lazy my whole life. But laziness taught me something, that small steps can create big change." He paused for a moment, looking directly into the lens. "I want to help you fall in love with English, not the hard way, the human way." That video didn't just get views, it got hearts. People commented from every corner of the world. They said things like, "Thank you, Asher. You made me believe again. I always thought I was too slow, but your story made me start." And one comment that touched him deeply read, "You made me realize I'm not lazy, I'm just learning differently." Asher replied to that one personally. He wrote, "Yes, you're not lazy. You're just finding your rhythm. And once you do, nothing can stop you." Weeks turned into months. His small YouTube channel began to grow, slowly but surely. Every new video was a mix of honesty and emotion. He didn't try to act perfect. He spoke like a friend. He shared his struggles, his fears, and the simple systems that helped him grow. He would say, "Don't aim to be perfect. Aim to be consistent. Don't compare yourself to others. Compare yourself to yesterday." He began teaching with stories, not textbooks. He told stories about real people, real mistakes, and real success. And each story ended with a line that people began to remember him by. It's okay to be lazy if you're smart about it. Soon, his videos reached millions. And one day, he got an email from a school in Japan, the same country where Kenji, the original story's hero, once lived. They wanted Asher to give an online talk to their students about motivation and language learning. When he read that email, he laughed in disbelief. He remembered the nights when he could barely finish one paragraph in English. Now, a whole school wanted to listen to his story. He looked up, whispered a quiet thank you to the universe, and accepted. On the day of the talk, he sat in front of his camera again, heart full of gratitude. As the students joined the live session, he could see their faces, bright, curious, hopeful. He smiled and began, "When I was your age, I thought I would never be good at English. I thought I was too lazy. But now, I know the truth. Laziness is not bad. It just means your brain wants a better way." The students listened in silence. He continued, "Don't be afraid if you move slowly. Be afraid only if you stop completely. Because even one small step a day can take you farther than you imagine." At the end of the session, a student raised her hand and asked, "Sir, how do I keep going when I feel like giving up?" Asher smiled softly and replied, "Ah, that's a beautiful question. When you feel like giving up, don't push harder, make it smaller. If you can't study for an hour, do 5 minutes. If you can't learn 5 words, learn 1 sentence. Just don't break your connection with English. Keep it alive, no matter how small." The chat exploded with applause, emojis, and hearts. That night, Asher sat quietly, staring at his screen filled with love. He whispered, "This is why I started." But inside, he knew something even deeper. He hadn't just learned English. He had learned life. He had learned patience. He had learned to forgive himself for being slow. He had learned to love the process instead of rushing the result. And he wanted others to feel the same peace. So he began writing a book, not about grammar, not about rules, but about the lazy path to fluency. In the first chapter, he wrote, "This is not a book for perfect students. This is for the ones who fall, rest, and still rise again." He wanted people to know that language learning is not a race, it's a rhythm. Some people run fast, some people walk slow, but everyone can reach their destination if they keep moving. Months later, that book became a hit among learners around the world. People started calling Asher the lazy teacher who changed lives. He laughed every time he heard that. He didn't feel like a teacher. He still felt like a student. Walking side by side with others, one evening, as he sat by his window watching the sunset, his phone buzzed. It was a message from a girl named Maria from Brazil. She wrote, "Asher, your video helped me start learning English again. I used your 5-minute rule every day. And yesterday, I had my first English conversation with a tourist. I cried after that. Thank you." Asher stared at the message for a long time. He smiled, his eyes shining with tears. He whispered, "That's it. That's why I do this." Because success for him was no longer about money or fame. It was about moments like these. Moments where one person's words gave another person hope. And that's when Asher realized the true power of language is not in speaking perfectly. It's in connecting deeply. He looked into the camera one last time for his year-end video and said, "Hey everyone, I want to leave you with one final message. If you've ever been called lazy, smile. Because lazy people create smart paths. Lazy people find beauty in simplicity. And lazy people, when they care, can change the world slowly, quietly, but completely." He paused, letting the silence breathe. Don't try to be someone else. Just be the best version of your lazy, beautiful, consistent self. And remember, small steps every day lead to big dreams. He smiled warmly, and the screen faded slowly to black, with his voice echoing softly. Keep going, keep growing, and keep believing. Laziness isn't your enemy, it's your secret weapon. And with that, Asher closed his laptop, leaned back in his chair, and looked outside at the city lights. He took a deep breath and whispered, "I did it, in my own way." Somewhere out there, another tired learner opened YouTube, saw Asher's video, and clicked play. And just like that, another story began. Because when one lazy person finds his way, he lights the path for millions more.